Hey guys, Philip here, and finally, welcome back to Phasing Forward. And today we are beginning Loki. Now you might be wondering, Philip, didn't you say you were going to go back on a fucking regular schedule with Phasing Forward? What the hell is going on? Why is this coming out after episode 2, and why are you doing both episodes 1 and 2 in one video? Didn't you say you wanted to avoid that? Well, essentially just a little, another quick update just at the start of this video, I guess, is that to kind of help with our schedule, and when I say our schedule, I mean Zen's schedule, because I'm fine to do week to week, but to kind of help out with Zen's schedule, what we're going to be doing, at least for a while, and at least until things have calmed down for Zen, is that we are going to be doing Phasing Forward every 2 weeks, as opposed to every week. So for a good while with Phasing Forward, you're going to be getting double reviews of like the episodes. So we're going to be doing episodes 1 and 2 of Loki, episodes 3 and 4 of Loki, and etc, etc, etc. That'll most likely extend to What If. By the end of the year, we'll see how we go with that. Because I very much do want Phasing Forward to be week to week, but if it means not having Zen around, then that's not something I really want. I absolutely want Zen for this series. So, and if she can't be on it, then that sucks. So if this will help things out, then then that's all that really matters. So for the time being, Phasing Forward is going to be every 2 weeks as opposed to every week. I'll keep you guys updated as later on in the year whether or not we're going to be going back to week. So yeah. By the way, Zen's here. How are you doing, Zen?
Wait a second. Who is this Zen person? What's a Phasing Forward? I don't understand. Wait a second here. Let me dry my clothes. Oh, now I understand. Hello, everybody. I'm Zenith Warrior Princess. Contrary to popular belief, I am not dead. I am just in hibernation. I need my bunny's sleep.
You already said this.
I need my bunnies. I've been away for a very long time, okay?
You're in the WandaVision fucking series review.
Wait a second. Oh, I traveled back too far. Silly me. I thought this was the WandaVision.
Am I too soon? Am I too soon? No, I'm too soon. Lois Lane's the king. Lois Lane's
Why would you say that name? But anyway, hi everybody, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess. I really do apologize. We were supposed to get the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff done. We were supposed to do Loki. I have been very overwhelmed the past few weeks. Not to mention, I worked 52 hours this week alone. Not counting, next 2 weeks I'm gonna have even more overtime per week. It's gonna be crazy. They have me working 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it's a lot. And it's like, I love my new job. I do. But it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, in case you missed the update, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series review is going to happen either sometime with it, during Loki, or it'll happen after Loki. The only thing about doing it after Loki is that we also have the Black Widow review to do after Loki, because that's coming out, I think, after Loki episode 5, and we're going to finish Loki off first, and then do Black Widow. So whether or not you're going to get the Falcon series review first, or the Black Widow review first, it depends. Probably the Black Widow review first, but that's to decide when we actually get to it. But for now, I figured let's not waste time and delay Loki any further. So let's just jump right into Loki. And I guess it kind of works out well, because episodes 1 and 2 were the episodes that that critics got, to view early for their reviews and such. So I guess it kind of works out. We kind of get to cover all that they got to cover. Just talking about it more in a spoilery fashion, but I guess going into this, I should state that for the longest time before the series was properly announced for Phase 4, I wasn't really all that up for a Loki series, primarily because of Infinity War, and I was like, well, okay, you're either spoiling that Loki comes back in Endgame, or you're just bringing him back in general from like that original timeline and saying that all the journey, like all the character growth that Loki went on and his death in Infinity War just don't matter now because you're just gonna bring him back. So I was kind of apprehensive to Loki getting a series, and don't get me wrong, I'm someone who absolutely says you don't need to resort to killing characters, but then when you when you do kill a character and you just nonchalantly bring the character back, I feel like, you know, that does take away from, it's like, okay, well, what was the point in even killing them to begin with? You know, you have to, like, there's a reason why you had to kill that character and to bring them back to begin with, and I don't know, I just don't agree with that. But then, you know, post Endgame, and then they properly announced what this series was, and I'm like, okay, now I could see myself being into that. And then they started releasing, you know, footage of the series and promotional art and just more trailers, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This show's gonna fucking slap. I'm actually really interested to see where they go with this series. You know, it's been hard to properly gain like a full grasp on like what each series is gonna really delve into, because for all three of the Disney Plus shows so far, there's a lot that they didn't show in the trailers, which I'm really happy about. But yeah, long and short of it, I really, really love these first 2 episodes of the series. I feel like this was a really, really fucking strong way to start off the show.
I was actually a little bit different, because I was all for it. This was probably one of my more anticipated series because of the way the trailers were putting it out. And, I mean, I didn't think that they were going to do anything to undo the death. I was just, you know, I wanted to see where it was going. But this episode, like the first episode started, I was just like, huh. I didn't really know what to make at first, and then I rewatched it and I saw the second episode, and I adore it. This is a series that I wholeheartedly love, and I think it's interesting because this is not the original Loki. This is not the Loki that had the journey, that had all that character development. This is a different version of Loki, and so it doesn't undo the arc that the original Loki had. He still had that arc, he still went on that, he still died, he still had all that development, and this Loki is actually learning about all that, and then come to find out there's more to the stuff going on that we're going to delve into. But it's just, this is really a plot about a character, Loki picking apart his own character and learning more about himself. But also, it's, you know, each individual Disney Plus Marvel show so far has had a theme. WandaVision was grief. Social justice was for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is all about existentialism and purpose, and believing that we have more to offer the world than what is given to us. And there's a lot to unpack there, but I'm really digging it, especially because it deals with all these different alternate universes, alternate timelines, and supposedly the timekeepers are the ones who keep the flow of time on the central time path. And I have questions that I'm going to bring up in a little bit, specifically in regards to what the Ancient One said about the role of time. And so we're gonna get into that in a little bit, but I'm really intrigued with the direction that the series took, because I was expecting more like an adventure series. I wasn't expecting a murder mystery procedural series, character drama, existential crisis. Like, it's a lot, and I love it.
I wasn't expecting the character drama stuff. I was fully expecting, like, I knew this was going to be a murder mystery because that's how they were presenting the series, like, when advertising it. But, like, I knew that it was going to be that, and, like, I was expecting, like, a fun, like, adventure series with Loki. I was not expecting as much of, like, the character drama to be there, but I am, like, I love the fact that it is there, because at the end of the day, the reason why, like, because I was excited for this show, but the reason why I ended up not being as excited for it compared to all the other Disney Plus shows. Well, not all the Disney Plus shows. There are other Disney Plus shows that I haven't been as excited for as Loki. But, anyway. The reason why, I was tempering my excitement just a little bit, is because a part of me was worried that this was going to be a very, exposition-heavy show, because this is bringing in, this is coming back around to, timeline stuff and introducing, why there isn't a multiverse and why there is going to be another multiverse come Doctor Strange 2. And I was very much afraid that this entire series was going to be one big plot info, just info dump about time and such like that. And I was expecting them to take that plot and just work it into a fun, murder mystery where they just go throughout history, where they just go throughout time and sort out problems. And I was fully expecting that and ready to just enjoy that to my heart's content. But then, come the show proper, and it has all this character stuff for Loki that I absolutely adore. That I wasn't expecting there to be I was expecting there to be such a surplus of it, because again, this isn't the same Loki who we've been following since Thor: The Dark World. It's it's Loki just as the first Avengers finishes up, and so all that character character building that he. Or character development, that he went throughout the rest of the MCU, that's not there. So I was fully much expecting, okay, this isn't the Loki from later in the MCU, so he's not going to have all those, traits of later Loki, so they're not really going to focus on, trying to redeem his character in a sense. But I was fully wrong about that, and I'm glad I was, because especially, get the scenes of getting to see him the scenes of him looking into his future and exactly what happens to him and what happens to Asgard with Ragnarok having happened, all that stuff. It's some of the best content of the series. I would say it is the best content of the series thus far, and I absolutely just adore that kind of character stuff. If you've listened to me during WandaVision and during Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you'll know that character stuff is the stuff that I character, it's the stuff that I gravitate towards the most. Not just the themes, not so much the story. It's give me good character, and that's what the MCU is always been good at. Just give me good characters, develop them. Develop them enough, give them, not just enough personality and enough, and enough development, but dive into what makes them tick, as Mobius, I guess, would say, and it'll result in, and it usually results in just a fantastic movie, in these cases series. And I think these Disney Plus, I keep saying this, but these Disney Plus shows are perfect for delving into character development. So yeah, I've really been liking it. But can
I just say that I think the idea of Loki seeing into his future and seeing the development is a really brilliant way to handle this, because like you said, this could have been mishandled. They could have undercut his development, or they could have just, brought him back and undercut his death, but they didn't either, and they still managed to utilize both elements in a way that works really well. And I love him picking through his own history. There's several moments in these two episodes where he sees the future events, he sees Ragnarok, and he's crying. He doesn't want to appear like that, but they give close-ups of his face, and he's doing his best to maintain his composure. And this is the most vulnerable we've seen Loki, and this is him alone. And we do see him stuff with Mobius, we do see him with other people, and it is a little bit difficult to tell if he's being sincere there, but when he's alone and witnessing these events, you can clearly tell the effect that it's having on him. One other thing that I do want to bring up before we delve into one more thing. I have a theory, and I know people are talking about Kang as the possible thing in this series, but the whole thing, the whole setup of this feels Exiles to me. Now, Linkara did a review of, a retrospective of Marvel's Exiles, which is basically the X-Men, but traveling through time in alternate universes to stop things and put the time on the right path. Who they were lied to by this guy called the Time Broker, who eventually turned out to be the Time Breakers, which were bug people who were trying to fix the timeline and a whole bunch of stuff, so they weren't really authorities. And I'm wondering if that's connected or if it's just a coincidence, because they're called the Timekeepers and there's clearly power there, but we never actually are allowed to see the Timekeepers, and we aren't told why they have to keep this one unified timeline, and we aren't... A part of it goes to my suspicion because the Ancient One in Endgame, the Ancient One in Endgame basically explained what would happen if the timeline were to split. Now, Doctor Strange and the Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme, keeps the Time Stone, so aren't they in charge of the timeline? That's what has me completely. But then also, you know, if the Time Stone is meant to be used, and if the Time Stone is meant to be just used in any way, like in the timeline, then that would have had to be written by the Timekeepers. For example, you know, the Avengers going back in time to do the time heist and get all the stones to come back to, and then back to the future. That was set in stone by the Timekeepers. Like they said, that was supposed, even though they were meddling with time, it was also meddling with time that the Timekeepers themselves had written in. Especially because the Avengers, were staying true to the timeline. So they were going to put all the stones back, meaning that nothing would really be changed. So what they were supposed to do was, supposed to happen. But I do love the fact that how they say that Loki picking up the Tesseract was not, because the Avengers didn't account for, whoops, we messed up here, and I don't think the Timekeepers were either. So yeah, him taking the Tesseract, not being what was supposed to happen was a really nice. Yeah, I do like how they clear that up now, and how that's going to work for that timeline. They do clear that up. I mean, they bring the Tesseract there, and I'm kind of wondering how that factors into the actual universe if they eventually bring that back. That's part of my question, especially in regards to the Timekeepers and the Time Breakers. If this is all part of the Timekeepers' plan, how did they bring things back? I know that reset charges, they can prune off alternate pathways. That's not my issue. My issue is they took the Tesseract out of that timeline. So what happened to the Tesseract? Is it going to?
But the Tesseract would have reappeared. If they reset the timeline, then the Tesseract would still be there.
Right.
It's like they never.
But
yeah, it's like they never took it.
But then, if that's the case, if they never took it, then how would Thanos? How would they go back in time to have that character development? You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm actually kind of lost with what you're saying. I'm not gonna lie.
If the alternate timeline with Loki hadn't happened, they wouldn't have gone back in time further. Oh wait, what you're saying is they did go back in time further, but after they went back in time, the TVA reset the timeline so that didn't happen?
Yeah, I'm guessing what would have happened there was, they were very much supposed to get the they were very much supposed to get the Tesseract from Loki. Then that didn't happen, so the Timekeepers probably went, oh shit, okay, let's have it so that they take the Tesseract from this point in time instead, and then that's supposed to happen, and then and then they take the Tesseract from there, and that's how because they could very much write it so that Steve and Tony just always went to the the 90s, I believe. It was either the 80s or 90s, but how they went to that period of time to get the Tesseract.
It was like, I think it was the 60s actually, because there was a lot of hippies around.
No. It was it was the 70s actually. It was the 70s. I remember now.
Yeah. So like, I'm intrigued. This does clear a lot of things up for me. I'm not saying this is a plot hole. I'm just trying to piece it together. But also, if my theory is correct and this is the Time Breakers, then time is gonna get messed up, and I want to know if this is part of Exiles, if they're gonna bring in the X-Men using this, because I know the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man, they have a lot of other characters from other franchises.
I've just stopped theorizing about X-Men. When they happen, they happen. I'm done. And granted, the hype around WandaVision is really what did this for me, where it's like everyone was theorizing like, oh, Magneto's gonna pop up here. Oh my god, the X-Men are gonna come in, and then they didn't, and everyone just bitched their fucking heart out. So you know what? I'm just not bothering with that anymore.
This is why I'm not saying it's gonna be Kang, because it's not gonna be Kang.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, it's not MODOK, it's not Kang.
I do think.
But the time.
Okay, I don't think Kang is going to be in this series, but I do think that this series is going to have an impact on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and everything to do with Kang. Like, now that the multiverse seems to be like inching its way back into like existence, or back into like being a thing, that could very much tie into Kang in Ant-Man and set him up. But is he gonna pop up in this series? No, he's not. I highly doubt
Here's
that.
my question. Do you know if, like, I'm more familiar with the DC universe and like Crisis on Infinite Earths and what they did with their multiverse? Is that the same thing that Marvel kind of did? I don't really see. I don't really know
with Marvel's
too much.
Well, and I'm not the biggest, I'm not as knowledgeable about comic lore as I claim to be, or as I pretend to be. But I'm more familiar with Marvel than DC myself. So with Marvel's multiverse, it's a little tricky, because I don't know how many full-on multiverse rewrites they've had. In fact, I don't think they've had actually any. I think the closest we've come to is them mixing up, is them combining the 616 and Ultimate Universe with the second Secret Wars from 2015. I think that's the closest we've come, but I didn't really I don't think that wiped out anyone's memories. So in terms of the MCU, what they did here is actually very similar to Crisis, only they're making it's less meta in the sense that with Crisis on Infinite Earths, they took all the multiverse, all the different worlds, and just combined them into one world. What they basically did here was the same, where there were various different timelines, and now the Timekeepers essentially just went, all right, let's take all these different timelines and let's just combine it into one sacred timeline. But then, looking out to preserve that one sacred timeline, I think is a new thing for just Loki itself. So I don't know, timeline stuff is always something that I'm just kind of all right, it is what it is. I'm not going to focus too much on it myself, but that's just me.
I wasn't sure if it was part of the past continuity. If it's new, it's interesting, and I love how they dealt with it. It's how come I never heard about you guys before? Because you never needed to. Because you never needed to know. And that argument where it's Kana. Hold on. Kana, get out of my hamper. Get out of my hamper. Get out of there. Hey.
Of course, Kana is interrupting us during Loki.
I'll be right back.
Of course. Yeah, it's okay. I'll keep the audience company. Yeah, of course, Kana. Of course, Kana, who is the little mischievous one, is gonna fucking interrupt us during our review of Loki.
So Kana basically decided to interrupt my point.
No, I was just saying. It's funny how Kana, your little mischievous cat, is interrupting us during our review of Loki.
I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know why she just decided to go into my hamper and start, like, I don't know, rooting or sniffing, and I'm like, baby, those are dirty clothes. So...
Oh, God.
Anyway, I was just saying, like, I think it's interesting how they hand waved it away by saying, you never needed to know up until now, and that makes sense. A lot of people, criticizing little things like why haven't we heard about this before this? I'm like, it wasn't important to the plot. It wasn't need to know information. So yeah.
Basically, the reason why you haven't heard of this up until now is because Marvel didn't think fucking 20 years ahead and thinking of every little minute way to introduce stuff and have it be interconnected. You can excuse this shit. It's like people going, well, where would the Eternals' whole deal is, the Eternals' whole deal is like looking for deviants and stopping deviants. Thanos is a deviant, so why weren't they in Endgame? And I will admit, the memes that came out of that were very fucking funny.
Well, that's because Thanos wasn't a variant. Thanos was supposed to be there.
Well, okay, no, I'm talking about the Eternals from the Eternals that are coming out later this year, not the time variant, not the TVA.
Oh.
Yeah, because the Eternals' whole deal is that they are, their whole purpose is to basically kill deviants, and Thanos is a deviant. So it's like, well, wait a minute. If they set out to kill deviants, then why the hell didn't they come to stop Thanos? It's like Thanos wipes out half the universe, the Eternals. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know too much about that side of things personally. But
yeah, we can get into that eventually when the Eternals comes out, because I'm starting to learn more.
I don't know enough about the cosmic stuff, but one thing I will say, all this stuff about quantumanium and multiverse and stuff like that, it's starting to make a lot more sense now about what they're doing and going forward with the universes and how things are connecting. And, we've had teases about it, like what was happening with Mr. Boner. We had teases, and, it's not so much in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but in WandaVision teased a lot of things with that. Now we're setting it up, and I think it really works. And I'm like, okay, I want to know more. I want to see a little bit more. Kana, I swear to God, will you get out of my hamper?
But yeah, I completely agree, because it's like, the thing about a multiverse or timeline stuff is that when you mess with it, you're either going to make it confusing or you're going to make it make sense. And it's very easy to have it be the former, but you just have to give a shit for it to be the latter. And I think Marvel has taken good strides to make it make sense, essentially. And what helps is that essentially with the comic book, everyone's only gonna everyone's gonna only read so many comics. That's the whole thing about the comic industry. You're never gonna read everything. You think you are, but you're never gonna read everything, unless you want to splooge all your money and become homeless. But that's
well, excuse me, I will play every video game. Excuse you. I will.
God. But yeah, so that's the thing about the comic industry, and timeline stuff and universe and multiverse stuff can be explained in multiple comics, but the thing is that not everyone's going to know where to look for that stuff. Whereas with the MCU, it provides a good opportunity to explain this stuff in multiple series and in multiple movies, because there's more of a chance that that everyone's gonna see it. Of course, there's gonna be people who skip around and maybe people who just aren't watching the Disney Plus shows, but it's there's gonna be more people who actually watch everything, because it's much easier to watch everything than read every single comic line that Marvel is releasing. So that's that's played to Marvel's advantage with all this stuff. So yeah, it really helps out there.
I definitely have to agree. I think the Disney Plus shows are now much more accessible. It's very easy for people to watch just one thing that they want to watch. even though like some of it does tie in, I think the character stuff with Loki is better if you've seen what came before, but it's still really powerful. Like I love him like picking apart his own character, his own flaws, and turning his own words back around on himself. Just a scared little boy. Like, there's so many big, powerful moments, especially when he sees everything and he goes, glorious purpose. And the meaning of the first episode is realizing that all the big purpose that he set out to put for himself, because he is the one destined to rule Asgard and Thor sucks. No, his purpose is to die. His purpose is to better other heroes.
And I think that's my favorite moment of the series thus far, is when he sees his death and all he can do is laugh about it. I feel like that little moment is just so impactful. It just like, he looks at his own death and he sees just how little his life how little like his life amounted. And, and all he can do is just laugh, and he's truly humbled in that moment. And it's honestly, one of my favorite moments. And I guess segueing from that, we can talk about God, I love Loki and Mobius's chemistry. In the first episode, it's Mobius trying to get Loki to like explain himself and like see what makes him tick. Following that into the second episode where his patient starts to get, tested, and now it's Loki who has to like bring Mobius around. I just love their chemistry. If Loki's gonna be more than one season, and it is because it's already being confirmed. If it's a show that's getting more than one season, then I'm glad that we're establishing this like good buddy relationship between the two, and yeah, I can't wait to see more of them, because like it's more than just two people who get on their nerves, and but like stick together regardless to like see a case through to the end. It's a man who's trying to understand what makes the other like do the things that he does, especially when they hurt those around him. And I love getting to see this side of Loki, who like who debatably we haven't really been able to see him like this before. Like, we've seen him be humbled in the past, and we've seen him get redeemed, and seen him and seen his relationship with Thor like grow better as the movies went on. But we haven't really been able to see Loki, just explain himself and why he does the things that he does. And I really love that about this series so far. It I think justifies bringing Loki back from the dead. Even though this is not the same Loki, I think it justifies bringing, Loki back at all when you're delving into him like in this way that we haven't seen them delve into like at all in the past. Well, not at all, but like we haven't seen them delve into like this in the past.
I think the biggest moment for me, there was two ones. First is, when he's talking to Mobius, it's like, I don't enjoy hurting people. I don't enjoy hurting people. But it's all part of the trick. It's all part of the illusion. It's all to make himself feel more important, because he's just a frightened little child and feels like he's worthless and insignificant, and he's lashing out one last-ditch effort to control the uncontrollable. And that entire speech is powerful. But the second moment is when he looks down at the Tesseract, and I've been wondering the entire time, like, why he hasn't used it. It's like, he tried to use it, it didn't work. The Infinity Stones don't work here. And it's just seeing
they're just paperweights. They're just paperweights.
Seeing him sitting there holding it, and like, there's some really powerful imagery, especially when he sees all the Infinity Stones. It's like, some of us around the office use them as paperweights. Like, it's God, there's so many powerful scenes in episode 1, and also funny ones. What the hell is a fish?
Oh god, I love it. It does bring into question just like how many of these people, were taken from from other timelines, and how many of them were just raised here in the TVA. Because God, I mean, it seems like they're doing well for themselves, but also just God, it's like, it really makes me question just like how many of these guys came from a timeline, or if they were just if because you can't just have everyone just be born here, like you gotta have at least some of them be from maybe alternate timelines. Like, how was the TVA even formed in the first place?
We don't know. There's a lot of questions about who's running the TVA, who chooses the agents, how long Mobius has been here, because time does work differently there. There's questions that kind of need answering.
How do they celebrate birthdays? Do they even have birthdays?
There's interesting ideas here, especially because we keep having this question of can I see the timekeepers? No, you can't. Do they even exist? Are they real? I have many questions.
To be fair, I think they've been able to skirt away with the timekeepers being sus about that, because I think I think they've been able to skirt away with that because the person asking to see them is Loki, and I don't think you're gonna want to let Loki go near them just like that. So I think they've been able to skirt past that, but it is pretty sus how not even Mobius can talk to them.
It's very interesting to me, very good ideas, and I'm really glad we're getting a season 2 because I'm loving this dynamic. I love how Mobius and Loki play off each other's. He's obviously baiting Loki 95% of the time, he's saying, oh, you want to burn something? You can start with my desk. He just makes light of it in order to fuel Loki's desire to talk and tell more about himself. But in the second episode, it's all about him being frustrated, and instead of encouraging him, he discourages him to try to bait Loki in a different way, and it works.
Yep. I guess going into more overall thoughts, what did you think with episode 1 compared to episode 2? Because I love episode 1, but episode 2, I don't know, I feel like the scenes with Mobius and Loki were maybe a little stronger in the first episode, or more primarily the final scene they have, where they're talking about where Loki's talking about how he doesn't enjoy hurting people. But I feel like episode 2 was perhaps a little stronger in the sense that of getting down to the bottom of things and trying to solve this mystery. Plus there's just the individual moments of Loki tricking the TVA at the beginning of the episode, until Mobius just kind of realizes, okay, never mind, you're just fucking around. Let's go. There's no one out there. And Mobius and Loki looking through the files, going to 2050, which I'm glad they didn't show too much of 2050, because all they really showed was a neon light and a projection, a hologram. That's about it. You don't need to show too much. We don't know how 2050 is actually going to turn out in regards to how futuristic it's going to be. Everyone thought 2015 was going to be flying cars and hoverboards. I've got none of that shit.
I was promised flying cars. Where are my flying cars? But in regards to that, I think they're both equal, but in different aspects. I think episode 2 is a stronger overall episode. I think from start to finish, episode 2 is enjoyable, it's witty, it has really great jokes, has some really great timing, but none of the individual moments were as powerful as the ending of episode 1. However, when I first saw episode 1, I was a little bit taken aback. And I think that's the point. You're supposed to be in Loki's shoes where, you're in awe, he's taken somewhere, and then just out of nowhere, we have the time people, and you're wondering, along with Loki, what the fuck? And then he's in an office and everything's so pat, and he's asking all these questions, none of which are being answered. And it's meant to be very off-putting, and it works. And on second watch, I'm like, this is brilliantly done. It's hilarious, but it's also you're Loki in this scene. And it's is this everything you've ever said? What? prints it out. I love it. I love that little bit. I love that they don't tell us what a temporal aura is yet. Like, it's just little bits and pieces. The biggest strength of the series so far is that it's not an exposition dump. You learn what's happening as Loki does. And he starts to
I love that.
Little by little.
I love the way they explain it like that. I love how, you know, it's not just exposition. No, I'm not gonna sing that fucking song. Fuck that. I was gonna, you know, it's not just exposition. It's like they actually, have Loki, like, you know, learn along with the viewer to actually make it so, and him, like, just denying everything, like, makes it so that, like, you know, it connects back to, like, Loki's character, and not just, oh, okay, let's just tell the viewer all about this time stuff because it's gonna become important to the MCU. You know, it's that was my biggest worry with the series, is that was just gonna be, like, such a massive info dump for, you know, for timeline stuff and multiverse stuff. But no, and it's handled in a really fun way on top of just, like, you know, how it's, you know, executed, because, you know, we have Miss Minutes, who's voiced by Tara Strong, which I didn't realize. Like, I'm usually pretty good about realizing, like, oh, it's Tara Strong. You know, like, whenever I hear, like, she just has that kind of voice where whenever I hear Tara Strong, I'm like, oh, it's Tara Strong. But I didn't recognize her here. I was like, holy shit, that's Tara Strong. Holy crap. But yeah, like, just like, Miss Minutes is just such a fun character, getting to see her explaining everything. And I love how we're gonna see more of her, and like that, like, she seems to be just a living being, which is fun. And yeah, that's I really love. I think the humor so far has been really good. I was dying when they went back to 74 AD. And Loki's just like, you are all going to die. And it's like, yeah, have your last meal. You know, save for your last meal.
There are a lot of really funny bits. Especially, I love the bit where they're like, take a ticket. What is this, a deli? Like, that entire scene, brilliant. It took me aback the first time, but again, you're supposed to learn about things as Loki does. And I think that's great. So, in regards to how I view the episodes, I think episode 1 takes a second viewing to really appreciate the subtle nuances and how they structured that opening first half. But the second half is brilliant, and the final speech is powerful and really well done. The second episode, much more straightforward, much easier to grasp. I love every bit of it. Not quite as powerful, but I love the ideas and the concepts, the stuff that they introduce. There's so much that I have questions on, though. Like, there are several parts where Loki does something, and I'm not sure if he's lying to this person or not. For example, there's a part where they're chasing a variant who is also a Loki. And
which was a nice twist. It was like, okay, like, so we're bringing you in to help us catch a variant. Who? You. Like, it was actually, like, that was something I actually wasn't expecting, but it was from that I was like, okay, I think I know where they're going with this Loki variant, which we'll get to. I think that's probably the last point we'll touch on, because I have actually a bunch to say there, because that's something I've really been itching to talk about. But
I really like the idea, but my question is, because there are points where he's stalling Mobius to learn more, and he makes a speech about scheming, and, like, I see a scheme. But also, part of me wonders if that was a double bluff, because he says something to Mobius at the end, like, the timekeepers are not safe, and he whispers it to him, but then he's like, Mobius changes things around, like, he's like, oh, you are stalling for time. But the speech that Loki makes about everyone else being oblivious could be referencing everyone around them not paying attention to his conversation with Mobius. But then later in the episode, he talks to this other Loki and offers to help her take over the TVA, and she denies him, and Mobius tries to stop them from going into a time portal. And so I'm wondering if Loki is secretly concocted something with Mobius. Like, what if they're trying to work together to get to get a meeting with the TVA, but nobody else can know about it, so they're creating this elaborate stalling trick, and he's supposed to go after her, or if he was telling the truth to Loki. There's questions that I have, and I think this does a great job of raising, because you can always trust Loki to be a liar. As they said in Pirates of the Caribbean, you can always trust a dishonest man to be dishonest, but it's the honest man you gotta worry about. So here, I'm just kind of confused. Like, I don't know if Loki's telling the truth, or if this is deception, or if it's deception within a deception, or if Mobius is the one lying. I don't know.
I honestly feel like they're really working like with Loki's deception really well, because I love how they established in the first episode that with him hurting people, and he's upfront about the fact that he puts on this illusion for everyone else. Like, he puts on this deception so he can't fool but I think it's within that he gains Mobius's trust. Okay, so he admits it himself, so this makes him kind of subconsciously a little more trustworthy, even if Mobius won't say it out loud. Even if he's still skeptical, it makes Mobius subconsciously trust him more, which leads to episode 2, where we get at the start of the episode how Mobius is okay, let's trust in what Loki has to say, and he almost gets him, but then he just had to mention the timekeepers, and then he's okay, no, he's just fucking with us, and that's where the frustration comes into play. And I really love how they I really like the dynamic portrayed separately within the both episodes. It's like you said, how they're both equally good, just episode 2 is a little bit more a well-constructed episode, especially as we go on, and that's where we really get a mystery across the entire episode. And this is what this is what the series is presumably about, where we're just going to different timelines, learning about these mysteries and then setting them right. So having episode 2 be kind of the first episode where we really get to see Loki and Mobius kind of just sit down and kind of solve this mystery, and what and where this variant Loki might be hiding. I love that. I really, really love that. So
I thought it was really clever. Hiding in Apocalypse is because you can't detect any variances, because no matter what everyone's gonna fucking die. They're all gonna die. They can't affect the outcome of everyone dying. So their presence there has no effect on history. Yeah, it has a minor ripple, but they're in a major event.
I didn't even think of that. So that was actually a really clever thing, where I was okay, I see what you're doing. I think that's actually really, really cool. And again, it leads to some just funny dialogue, how it's just oh my god, a freaking volcano's gonna erupt and kill everyone, isn't that so exciting? And maybe says yeah, it is, but you shouldn't talk about it because
nothing matters. We
I love that scene so much. It's the funniest scene of the show so far. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. And then that kind of with episode 2, that kind of actually, before we jump into the climax of episode 2 and all the stuff that happens in 2050, is there any other character you kind of want to bring up? Because I feel I think this is one of the only sticking points with the show so far, is that I'm enjoying the other characters, but this is the Loki and Mobius show. None of the other characters, at least so far, have really added anything. The main TVA woman, I forget her name, but she hasn't really added to anything other than being Mobius's friend, and that's about it. I do like the main lady who's who doesn't trust Loki and goes with him at the end of the episode. She's fun, but none of the other characters are really added too much. They're there, they serve their purpose.
Well, what about Casey?
And that's it.
What about Casey?
Casey's fun. Casey is fun.
I want more Casey, but
yeah,
I don't really know what any of the other people's names, but I think that's part of the point. And hear me out on this. These people are all essentially numbers. They're all expendable for the most part from what we're seeing here. Yeah, we're investigating the deaths, but they all have the same weapons, same serial numbers, standard lock and file tactics. there's nobody really, like, they have backup and they have units, but they have standard weapons, but they don't feel anything more like soldiers and workers and office temps. Like, they're not, it doesn't feel like they're meant to seem like people. It seems like they're meant to be just faceless, like, goons to make you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes.
And I get that. I hope we get, like, a little more, like, we delve into that a little bit more, because so far it's just been kind of like the Loki and Mobius show, which I'm fine with, but it's just like, you know, a bit more focus on the TVA staff members, like, would be nice.
I don't really mind personally. I like the buddy cop drama, but it's a buddy cop drama with friggin' Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson.
Fucking Lightning McQueen, man. Fucking Lightning McQueen.
Do you know how many people realized that who Owen Wilson was by watching the show? I was looking at him like, Night at the Museum? But Zoolander?
To be fair, his look, he does look like pretty different to how he usually looks in this show. Like, he's got the white hair, he's got like the white mustache, and it doesn't help the fact that like Owen Wilson's just getting older, so like he just looks older by default.
I know, but like Owen Wilson, I know people are better at recognizing faces and names, but like, come on, man, he's a male model, man. He can turn left. God, I love Zoolander. We gotta review Zoolander. Add it to the list.
Yeah, I'll add it to the list.
Zoolander and Mystery Men. Put in the the superhero verse or something like that. I'm gonna make up verses for every single thing. Anyway,
so heading into the climax of this episode, I feel like the climax of episode 2 is it is probably the best sequence of events, probably the best sequence of scenes like that we've had up until now, where everything just feels like so tense. You know, you see everyone like, you know, kind of sheltering before they like fucking die, and we see like the TVA just like sneaking around to find this variant Loki, and then just like having it like all build up, and eventually we get the confrontation between Loki and his variant self at the end of the episode. Assumably, we'll talk about that in a second. Well, I should say presumably. And so we get like, you know, we lead up like all the way to the end of the episode, where we see this variant Loki send a bunch of the reset capsules out to different points of time, which creates a freaking like multiple different ripples in the timeline, and things are gonna get presumably things are gonna start getting really fucked. Things are gonna start getting really, really fucked right now. So but we also get the reveal that this variant Loki is a woman, which is something that I pretty much guessed by the end of episode 1. Most people guessed that, so I'm not gonna take credit for that, because most people were like, oh, are they gonna introduce Lady Loki? And they introduced Lady Loki, which is nice. And it's this that I want to talk about. It's this that I want to kind of focus on, because going into this series, they had already confirmed that, Loki is going to be gender fluid in this series. Loki's going to be gender fluid in this series, just like how he is in the comics. And now, speaking as a gender fluid person myself, I thought, okay, that's neat. Are they actually going to show this? Because, you know, I love LGBT representation with all my heart. It's like, I feel like we need way more of it than we already have. But the problem is, a lot of shows, you know, have quote unquote representation and then either do nothing with it, don't mention it, or sneak it in at the very end of the show. Like, I love Adventure Time, but Bubblegum and Marceline should not have gotten together at the end of that show. And
it should have happened way sooner.
It should have happened way sooner. Same with like, and I know with Korra they had like the whole love triangle, but that shouldn't have that shouldn't have been a thing to begin with. I'm just gonna say that right now. So by the time they did Korra and Asami, it was the end of the fucking show, and that was like, it was the same problem there. It's like, so that's one problem with doing LGBT rep. Another problem is just Twitter confirming it, and this is worse. Twitter confirming it and then never showing it in the fucking show itself. And that's what really grinds my piss to a boil, because it's like, what the fuck? It's like, if you're gonna say, oh, X character is gay, X character is bisexual, then fucking show it. Like, you don't even need to like hyper focus on it for too long. Just something, anything. But a lot of fucking showrunners don't want to do so. So when I heard that, okay, well, Marvel's making Loki gender fluid in this series, I was like, okay, show me. And then, by the end of episode 1, I was like, wait a minute, is that Lady Loki? And then I'm expecting it throughout episode 2. And then at the end of the episode, we get Lady Loki, played by, let me see if I can remember her name, Sophia DiMartino, right? I think that's... I think that's Lady Loki's.
I do not know.
Hold on. I'm quickly Googling this to make sure I'm not appearing like... Yep, Sophia DiMartino. That's her name. Yeah, and she looks amazing, and I'm like, oh my god, they did it. They fucking did it. They actually showed Loki's gender fluidness, like, very early on. And then, you know, of course it's a variant Loki, but this could, like, lead to the main Loki, like, wanting to, like, you know, express himself, like, as a woman, like, as he sees himself right here in the future. And I'm like, holy crap, this is actually good. They're doing fucking representation. But now I'm kind of skeptical again, because if you looked at the credits for the other languages, which I don't blame you for not doing, because I never do it myself. But if you look at the credits for the other languages, then for a few of them, I can't remember if it was one of them or a few of them, it lists Sophia DiMartino's character as Sylvie. If you don't know who Sylvie is, it is the actual name, the identity of the comic villain Enchantress. Enchantress is a villain who Marvel fans have wanted to see in the MCU for a long time. It's someone who I've wanted to see in the MCU for a long time. But this has made people go, okay, this is Enchantress, but she's taking the identity of Loki. And, you know, and the fact that it's actually in the credits is like a good, like, indicator that this might be what they do. And nothing's confirmed, to be fair. And a part of me wouldn't mind if it is Enchantress. But if it is, then that actually kind of also pisses me off.
I think it's just a mistake, honestly.
I do want to bring this up though, because yes, it could be a mistake, but like, that's a really coincidental mistake if it happens. Like, oh, we have this character who kind of looks like the Enchantress, but is, you know, we're showing her as Lady Loki here. Oh, but we're gonna put her name as Sylvie in the credits. I don't know. It could very much be a mistake. I honestly hope it's a mistake, even though I wouldn't mind her as Enchantress. But like, because again, I have been wanting Enchantress in the MCU for a while as well, because she is a really fun villain. But my thing is that if it is Enchantress, then I'm kind of pissed at that, because essentially you say, okay, we're gonna represent Loki's gender fluidness in this series, and then you have the Loki variant be a woman. Only now you're gonna say, oh no, it's actually Enchantress. It's dangling keys in front of the audience and being like, okay, here's your gender fluid. Okay, no, it's gone. We were joking.
Here's why I disagree.
And I don't. Okay, actually, Zen. Before you finish, can I just like finish up my? Yeah, I'm almost done with my point. I just kind of want to finish it off. Basically, it's like, I don't like it. What's worse than just Twitter confirming something is dangling it in front of the audience's face and then pulling it right back. And again, there's a chance that she won't be the Enchantress. All people are like writing it off that, yep, she's absolutely the Enchantress. That's what they're doing. And you know, it could be. And I hope if this is the Enchantress, then at the very least, this doesn't spell the end for Loki's gender fluid, like, because there could very much be a chance that this could turn out to be Enchantress, and yet they have another actress play Loki as as a woman, and that would be nice. I would very much love to see that. But it's also like, if they do have this being Enchantress and then they do nothing else with Loki being gender fluid, then I'm gonna be pissed, because you're basically just teasing the audience and doing nothing more. I'm gonna wait on it because we're only 2 episodes in and we don't really know much more, so I'm not gonna say anything else regarding this until probably the end of the series, or until the Enchantress reveal happens, if it does at all. But until that point, I'm gonna remain skeptical, So,
okay.
Anyway, yeah, Zen, why do you think?
Here's why
this
I
gonna be
don't
the Enchantress?
believe that. Here's why I think this is a mistake. I don't think it's Enchantress. I know people are getting the hopes up, blah blah blah. But here's the thing: we have confirmed this is a Loki variant. So regardless of anything, it is still Loki. It is a female Loki. Yes,
that is a good
yes,
point.
Kana, yes. I love you. yeah, she agrees. She agrees. Yeah. Okay, so it has been confirmed to be a Loki variant by Mobius, by the powers that be. It is still Loki. So I don't think it's Enchantress. If it turns out to be Enchantress, you gotta explain why it shows up as Loki, and that does not make sense. Yes, Kana. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I know.
She's meowing a hell of a lot. She can't believe. She just can't believe. She
wants me to play with her with
Loki.
the string right now. But okay, so there's that. But also, like, on your point on gender fluidness, I like that he sees a female variant of Loki. He doesn't bat an eye. Because like, we never were questioning which gender the person would be before we saw them. So it's like, it's very nice to see that like reveal and be like, but Loki isn't surprised. He just plays it naturally, and I think it does show acceptance and seeing a piece of himself, and it is dealing with that. So yes,
he still sees himself, despite the fact that he's looking at like a woman version of himself, because Loki himself is. They even show in one of the his files that his sex is fluid. So I hope that's not the extent of it, but fingers crossed. But I think another reason why also people thought that this could be Enchantress and not Lady Loki is that is 2 things from the final battle with Loki and Sophia Di Martino, is that essentially when Loki says, I wouldn't treat myself like this, and then also when she says, don't call me that, when Loki calls the variant Loki, and the variant's like, don't call me that, so yeah, that could very well just be a red herring for Enchantress, but I don't know. I'm hoping it's not Enchantress.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not convinced, especially because we've seen her possessing people. Maybe she's possessed, someone. Maybe she's possessed the Loki variant. I don't know, but I know that right now we're dealing with Loki's gender fluid self, and it has been confirmed to be a Loki variant. Until it says otherwise, I'm not believing the Enchantress one bit. I'm gonna stick to that. Also, I'm still keeping with my time breaker theory. Time breaker. Also, I wonder what the significance of Kablooey is. I wonder, because this Lady Loki is going to different time periods, killing the TVA, getting time reset recharges, but also giving out gifts to people. And also singing I'm holding out for a hero. So there's parts of this that I don't quite get yet, and I want to know more.
Yeah, we still have a bunch to go. We still have a lot to see, a lot to ruminate about. This series on Phasing Forward is not going to be as long as the other 2, because again, there's really only going to be 3 videos. This one, then one for episodes 3 and 4, and then ones for the last 2 episodes. So, and again, would have loved to do weekly episodes on this, but then that would just be too much for Zen at the moment. So
I don't do
yeah,
weekly content. I can barely keep up with my own content. I'm trying to work on a 3-hour long Danganronpa video.
Yeah. It better be fucking 2 hours, I swear to God.
You're not the one recording it. I have to record it all.
Fair. But the long and short of it, Loki episodes 1 and 2 are great. You know, I know Zen told me, like, you know, oh well, who knows? You said that Falcon and Winter Soldier was gonna be wasn't gonna be like as deep as WandaVision, and then it ended up being like what it was. And yeah, she's absolutely right, and it pertains to this as well. So yeah, these first 2 episodes are great. Episodes 1 and 2 are just about as good as each other, but I do think episode 2 is slightly better. There's nothing much else I can say. It's fucking good. It's fucking good. There's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about with it, but I'm gonna save even further thoughts for once we get more information regarding this variant and regarding, you know, the timekeepers and all that stuff. I'm kind of just keeping like theories to a minimum on my end. There's gonna be like very little theories from myself because I'm just gonna sit back, watch, and take everything I see at face value until further notice. So, you know, doesn't mean I'm not gonna ponder on stuff, but you know, just that's how I'm handling it.
With that being said, I mean, I don't know how much more I can add. This was good. This was really good. I really enjoyed seeing it. I enjoyed actually watching it on Wednesdays. You know, now that I can see it on time and not be spoiled, and I wish there was a little bit more discussion around it. I feel like there's you know, I don't know. I feel like there's not as much discussion as the previous series, but, you know, maybe I just haven't been around as much. I don't know.
No, I don't know. People have been talking about it pretty well and good on Twitter. I feel like, you know, with WandaVision and with Falcon and Winter Soldier, people were still on that high of, oh my god, more MCU content, because it was the first thing since Spider-Man Far From Home. But yeah, I feel like we're settling back into like settling back into the territory of where we were with the MCU during Phase 3, where it's like new Marvel thing comes out and, you know, Marvel fans are going to talk about it.
In any case, I'm enjoying what we have here so far. Loki is a great character piece. It does have a lot of depth, a lot of existential stuff. It made me cry a couple times. I told you Phase 4 was the best one so far. You don't listen. Okay,
don't listen. I'm still not gonna say that yet, because, you know, who knows? We're still just on the 3rd series. I feel like we just need a couple more.
You said that every single series, though. Every single.
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm being we're not even proven wrong. Like, it's not even so much like proven wrong. It's just me waiting to see. I'm glad that the more we go into this, like, the more it's like, yeah, this is shaping up to be like the best one so far. And I'm glad, because, like, you know, I want Marvel to keep getting better and better. As good as I already thought they were, there is areas where they need to improve. Like, I still think DC tonally is, like, you know, has a right, because, you know, not everything needs to be the same tone. Not everything needs to be like the same, you know, like rating even. And I feel like the fact that DC can have, like, you know, PG-13 and R-rated movies in the same universe is actually a benefit to them, because they get to, like, and then again, Marvel's doing that as well, because Deadpool, the new Deadpool movie is going to be rated R. I hope Blade's rated R as well, but, you know, we'll just have to see. So I'm just glad Marvel's getting better and better as the years go on.
I agree.
But in any case, yeah. In any case, the next time you'll see us will be with Loki episodes 3 and 4 in 2 weeks. Again, gonna be bi-weekly from now on. So yeah, me and Zen will catch you guys in 2 weeks for episodes 3 and 4 of Loki. Hopefully nothing tremendously big happens next time that'll, like, make me go, oh, we have to cover episode 3 on its own. But yeah, in the meantime, also, me and Michelle, Phoenix 11, are planning on kickstarting an individual podcast, which we'll kind of divulge more info on very soon. but look forward to that. That may release in between now and the next Loki episode, or it may not. It depends on how well we can like time it and like when we can record we can record the thing. So yeah, but keep an eye out on my social media for that, because on my Twitter account for that, because you know I'm gonna be posting some more updates regarding it. But yeah, that is all we really gotta say. With that being said, I'm Philip.
And I am Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns.
And we will catch you guys 2 weeks from now. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
And don't watch fireworks like the people are doing in the background. No fireworks.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.